The distress beacon pierced through subspace like a scream in the void. Emma watched the holographic display flicker to life aboard the Terran Vanguard, her fingers dancing across the navigation console with practiced precision. The signal was weak, degraded by distance and desperation, but unmistakably Zilix in origin, Captain. "We're receiving an SOS transmission from the Outer Rim," she reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline beginning to course through her veins. "Coordinates suggest it's coming from the Helix Nebula. Sector 794. Captain Elijah Matthews straightened in his command chair, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the bridge displays. 20 years of military service had etched lines around his eyes, but they hadn't dimmed the fire within them. He'd seen things that would break lesser beings. Wars that consumed entire star systems, plagues that devastated civilizations, and the cold indifference of a universe that cared nothing for the weak. "Distance?" he asked. 4 light-years, sir. We could be there in 6 hours if we push the quantum drives." Elijah nodded slowly, his mind already calculating risks and probabilities. The Zilix were allies of the Terran Federation, small insectoid creatures whose mathematical genius had helped humanity crack the secrets of faster-than-light travel. They were peaceful, scholarly, and utterly defenseless. If they were calling for help, the situation was dire. "All hands battle stations," Elijah commanded, his voice resonating through every deck of the warship. "Set course for those coordinates. Maximum burn." The Terran Vanguard lurched forward, its massive fusion engines igniting with the fury of contained stars. Around them, the rest of the human fleet, 12 destroyers, 6 cruisers and 2 dreadnoughts, fell into formation like wolves sensing blood on the wind. Emma's fingers flew across her console, analyzing the distress signal's metadata. What she found made her blood run cold. "Sir, I'm detecting traces of Krell energy signatures in the background radiation. They're attacking the Zilix colony on Helix Prime." The Krell. The name alone was enough to invoke terror across 100 worlds. They were conquerors, slavers, a species that viewed all other sentient life as resources to be harvested. Their empire stretched across 2 galaxies, built on the broken backs of 1,000 extinct civilizations. They had made one critical mistake, however. They had never encountered humans. "ETA?" Elijah asked, his jaw tightening. 5 hours, 42 minutes. Make it 4. Emma hesitated only for a moment before nodding. She knew what he was asking. Push the engines beyond their safety limits, risk tearing the ship apart in quantum space, gamble everything on arriving in time. It was insane. It was also exactly what humanity did best. The Terran Vanguard screamed through the fabric of reality, leaving trails of Cherenkov radiation in its wake. On the bridge, the crew worked in tense silence, each member a veteran of a dozen campaigns. They were descendants of eathworlders, born on a planet that had tried to kill them since the first single-celled organism crawled from the primordial ooze. They were apex predators wearing the skin of civilization, and now that civilization was at war. 4 hours and 3 minutes later, the human fleet dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the Helix system. What greeted them was carnage. Helix Prime burned. The Zilix colony, home to 3 million souls, was under bombardment from a Krell battle group, 5 cruisers and a carrier, their weapons carving glowing scars across the planet's surface. Escape pods dotted the space around the world like scattered seeds, desperately fleeing the apocalypse below. "Sir, I'm reading multiple Krell signatures," Emma reported, her voice tight with controlled fury. "They're firing on the escape pods." Elijah stood, and in that moment he embodied everything the galaxy feared about humanity. He was death incarnate, judgment wrapped in flesh, the avatar of a species that had clawed its way to the stars through ice ages and asteroid impacts, through world wars and nuclear fire. "Weapons free," he said quietly. "Kill them all." The human fleet erupted into action with a precision that bordered on supernatural. Railguns spat tungsten slugs at relativistic speeds, turning Krell cruisers into expanding clouds of vapor and debris. Missile pods opened like the petals of mechanical flowers, releasing swarms of hunter-killers that pursued their targets with relentless determination. Energy weapons carved brilliant lines across the darkness, each beam carrying enough power to glass a continent. Emma coordinated the assault with cold efficiency, her console a blur of motion. She directed fire, allocated targets, and ensured that not a single shot was wasted. The Zilix had called for allies, expecting perhaps a diplomatic protest or a rescue mission. They had summoned something far more terrifying, the wrath of Earth. The Krell commander, a creature named Vexthor, watched his fleet die with disbelief. His species had conquered for millennia, faced countless enemies, but nothing had prepared him for this. The humans fought with a ferocity that defied logic, a willingness to risk everything that seemed almost suicidal. Their ship sustained damage that should have forced retreat, but they pressed forward, trading blow for blow with a savagery born from 1 billion years of evolution on a world that showed no mercy. Within 20 minutes, 4 Krell cruisers were destroyed. The carrier, Vexthor's flagship, was crippled and bleeding atmosphere. He opened a channel to the human fleet, ready to negotiate surrender. Elijah's face appeared on his screen, and Vexthor felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: fear. "You fired on escape pods," Elijah said, his voice devoid of emotion. "On civilians. On children. We can discuss terms." "No," the channel closed. 60 seconds later, the Krell carrier exploded in a miniature supernova as its reactor went critical, struck by a perfectly aimed railgun shot. Emma watched the last enemy signature wink out on her display and allowed herself a single breath of relief. Around Helix Prime, the escape pods drifted in the silence, their occupants saved by the fleet that had come roaring out of the darkness. "Send recovery teams to collect the survivors," Elijah ordered, settling back into his chair, "and transmit a message to the Zelix High Council. Tell them their colony is secure." "Sir," Emma said softly, "there's another transmission coming through." "It's being broadcast across all Krell frequencies. Put it through." The voice that emerged was Zelix, trembling but resolute. It was High Scholar Zixral, the colony administrator. "To all who can hear this message, today we called for help and the humans answered. Let it be known across the stars, humanity does not abandon its friends. And to our enemies, let this be your warning. Behind every alliance with Earth stands the Deathworlders' fleet of doom. Pray you never give them reason to come for you." Elijah allowed himself a grim smile. The galaxy was a dangerous place, full of predators and monsters. But now they knew. Humanity was the apex predator, and Earth's children would always answer the call. Emma began plotting their course home, knowing that this would not be the last time someone made the mistake of threatening humanity's allies. But each time the response would be the same: swift, overwhelming, and absolutely merciless. The SOS had been meant for allies. It had summoned something far more powerful, the unconquerable spirit of a species that refused to let its friends die alone.